Sorry about that. Yeah. Hey, Sarah, how are you doing? Everything's going all right? All right. Okay. Hey, Carlos, yeah, sorry. I think we got kind of disconnected. Okay. Hi, guys. How are you all doing? All right. I think we're waiting for a few more people, but just wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Iqbal Akhtar. And so I teach at FIU in the Department of Religious Studies and Politics and International Relations. I'm pretty sure most everyone probably knows me. And then this is my wife, Safreen, who's here. And my parents are here as well, my mom, dad, and my brother. You can't really see them. A little bit harder to see. All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I just did some volunteering with food distribution, so I'm still trying to get my bearings, so forgive me. I'm walking around my house, so I'm gonna mute this.
No problem. Do you guys maybe want to introduce yourselves?
I'm sorry?
Does everyone want to introduce themselves? I don't know if everyone knows everyone else.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
You want to unmute all?
Sure. Okay. Do you, if you feel comfortable, if not, that's fine. Carlos, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Carlos Grenier. I'm Iqbal's colleague at FIU. I'm an assistant professor in Religious Studies department. I also do Islamic studies, and this is my first serious time of attempt observing Ramadan. I'm new to the tradition, and I've finally decided I'm ready to try the fasting. It's a strange time to do it now, doubly isolating, but I'm still here, so that's who I am.
Okay.
Do you want to tag someone, Carlos?
Oh, tag someone. Well, why not you?
Okay. Hola. My name is Joan Godoy. So it's nice to meet you in person, Iqbal, because we've been emailing for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored to be here and for you all to be opening the doors of your home and of this very important tradition for you all, which I have read a lot about it, but I haven't really lived that with anybody. So I'm very excited and honored to be here tonight. And I am going to pass it to Hilary.
Okay.
I had to unmute myself. Yeah. But greetings, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. I'm Hilary Jones. I'm a colleague of Iqbal as well. And I was really excited to join you tonight. I'm not fasting because I'm taking medicine, and ordinarily I was supposed to have been in West Africa, in Senegal, during this time where I do research. And I was looking forward to spending the month of Ramadan there, because it's such a special time. And, you know, I'm with friends, and in a place like Senegal, Christians celebrate with Muslims, Muslims celebrate Christian holidays. And so there's just a real sort of feeling of everyone being in it together. So I was excited to join with you tonight, so that I could just sort of be part of the breaking of the fast.
Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. I know you were very lucky. You got a couple of very amazing scholarships to go, and everything got cut short. So what's going to happen? Are you going to be able to go back later then?
Well, you know, knock on wood. I got there in January. We had to leave, you know, literally overnight at the end of March. They closed the airspace in Senegal. So all of the Fulbright grantees around the world were recalled from wherever they were. But I had a second grant, so I'll be able to take that one sometime in the future. But, you know, right now everything is not so sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you want to tag to go
Oh,
next?
sorry, that's right. I have to do that. How about is it Joan?
I already went.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Who haven't we heard from? Halima?
I don't know if she's there right now.
Oh, she might not be there. Okay, then Nikki.
Assalamu
There.
Assalamu alaikum. Let me give you my video. There we go.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Halima. I was trying to get onto my laptop, so I was going to ask you, Iqbal, if you could send me the email to my, if you could send me the email and then I could re-sign in. But for now, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. I know Iqbal from a couple of different groups. I was also blessed to speak at FIU on the topic of Islam and Sufism. So I'm very happy to be here.
That's
Do you want
awesome.
to tag someone?
Okay. And then maybe Nikki, would you like to go?
Certainly. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. Iqbal, it's very nice also to put a face to a name. And thank you again for creating this space and taking part in this year's 10 Days of Connection. I feel very blessed to be here. I am not fasting. I am actually doing quite the opposite these days. Though I am eager to learn and listen and be a part of this community and celebrate with you all. So thank you again for creating this.
Absolutely.
I will pass it on to Erik.
That me? Hey, everybody. I'm not really sure what we're doing because I just joined a few seconds ago. My name is Erik Larson, and I work with Iqbal at Florida International University. I really appreciate the invitation from him and Zafreen to join you all tonight. I did go to the Iftar dinner last year at FIU, and I always enjoy going to these events and learning from everybody and seeing your dedication. It's always a joy and an inspiration to be with you all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes,
All
tag
right.
someone.
And who do you, we can tag someone to introduce themselves next. Sarah, do you want to go?
Hi, everybody. Oops. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Hammill, and I'm a librarian at FIU. And I'm not fasting. I was really curious when I saw this. I think I saw on, I don't know where I found the information about it. But when I saw it, I said, oh, I really want to see what it's all about. I'm here to learn. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Oh, I lost my view, though. Let me see. And Venu, have you gone yet?
Okay, so Venu?
Yeah, hi.
How about you? Okay, all right.
Hello all, I'm Venu. I'm FIU alumni, but at present I'm at the UF, quite a neighborhood. Thank you very much, Dr. Akhtar and Zafreen, for creating this Zoom group to celebrate Iftar. When I was at FIU in Miami, I was always there for the Iftar party, and Dr. Akhtar, Iqbal Akhtar, and Zafreen, they are very good hosts. My greetings to Uncle, Auntie as well. And I'm so happy to see Dr. Larson after many years. And I'm fasting today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was so happy. Yeah, fasting comes very natural because I'm Jain, and fasting is equally important as a religious ritual or practice, specifically to practice tolerance and self-meditation. It's quite similar to Islam. And I miss you. I miss Dr. Akhtar and Zafreen on this day.
I'm going out.
Yeah,
Okay.
so happy to see all of you. So thank you very much.
Okay.
So I'm using my mobile phone, so I can't see who's next.
That's okay. Do you wanna? We can tag Miroslav. Do you wanna introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry, my
my laptop is not working, so I'm using the other one, which is apparently my camera is not working. I'm really sorry because of that.
No problem.
So thank you, Dr. Akhtar. It's really nice to see you again, talk to you again. Well, I'm not fasting. By the way, I'm Christian. I'm not a very religious person, but my girlfriend is Muslim and she's really into religion and everything. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more, and it's pretty embarrassing, but she knows more about my religion than I do, but it is what it is. So I'm here to learn new things with you. And thank you for letting me be here with you.
Of course, absolutely. All right. I don't know, Kat or Kamran, maybe you want to introduce yourselves? Oh.
She's mute. Kat, you're mute.
Hold on. Yeah.
Kat, you're mute.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry. I realized it notified me. It was like, unmute yourself. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Happy to be here and see all your beautiful and handsome faces, mashallah. I am a board member of the East West Foundation. Thanks to Iqbal and Zafreen for creating such an amazing organization and foundation. I recently relocated to DC from Miami, but I am a Miami native, and I'm currently actually sitting here with my sister who lives in DC as well, and my 2 dogs. I am fasting. What'd you say? What happened? Oh, I thought somebody asked me something. So, and I'm trying to think, what else was I supposed to say? I don't know. Did I miss something? And I'm going to pass the torch now to Kamran.
DC. Hey, assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah, how's everybody doing so far?
Good. Just introduce yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I just jumped on this call right now. I wasn't sure. Is there anything specific that you need to talk about, or?
No, who are you? And then we're gonna go around and we'll start with Professor Larson then afterwards, and then everyone can just say maybe a little bit about maybe fasting in their tradition, and then we can talk about you know, the other thing that I wanted to talk about also is thinking about the pandemic right now and kind of what's happening, and I want to kind of hear your thoughts and your feelings on that, and maybe kind of include a spiritual dimension to kind of what's happening. So that might be just a way for us to connect with each other and talk about this really momentous thing that's happening in our lives right now. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So you want me to do all of that right now, or do you say
No, just introduce yourself right now.
Oh, all right. My name is Kamran. I'm living here, born and raised in Miami. I currently live in the Pembroke Pines area, so still in South Florida. Member of the South Florida Muslim Professionals. My profession is in digital marketing, which essentially is just help companies gain more eyes on their online presence, to put it shortly. Like Kat said, I am also fasting right now. I actually just finished the iftar, actually.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you for holding this session. It's good to see you as well. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, I know. So we're actually, just for those of you who don't know, we're actually in Louisiana right now at my parents' house. So this is our library. And so we're just about to break the fast, but I just wanted to show you the food that we have. So that might be something that you can see. All right, so what do we have here? Okay, so we have like a whole
Mix of cuisines.
Yeah, mix of cuisines here. So you want to explain what everything is?
So we just like look at our fridge and our pantry and kind of go with like, what do we have and what are we cooking? So this is Italian ratatouille. This is just a regular salad on which we threw some kimchi, so it's Korean. This is cheesecake. I don't know what can be more quintessential American. Iqbal made this. This is a fermented rice cake that is East Asian Chinese that Iqbal took 5 days to make. This is some pasta that I made. This is fruit salad, which is typically Pakistani, where Pakistan is where I'm originally from. And if people don't know me, I'm Zafreen, by the way. We made some tzatziki because that's what we felt like doing today. and we have tea and water and some apples.
Yeah.
So this is a very unusual spread for breaking a fast in a typical Muslim household.
Yeah, so we just try to use different things to break the fast. So just to give you kind of a really brief introduction before I turn it over to Erik and we start eating. So the month of Ramzan is the 9th month of the Muslim calendar. It's a time of fasting. It's a time when it is believed that the Quran descended from the highest heaven to the lowest heaven, and then the beginning of Revelation started. And so usually what you do is you fast by not eating or drinking for the entire day. You abstain from all types of sort of relations as well. No smoking. Ideally, you're also forcing yourself to break bad habits that you've accumulated over the course of the year. So you try to pray more, you try to be careful what you say, more careful about what you do. So it's a time for introspection. And then the fasting, as probably Carlos can attest, is initially very, very difficult on the body. It's like physically very, very hard to stop eating or drinking for 16 hours a day. And so what it does is it slows the body down. And the idea is that it takes you out of your regular time. So generally we're just so, I think that also the pandemic has helped a lot for that as well. But we're just constantly moving and running around and doing stuff and meeting people and all that sort of stuff. And what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to take you out of secular time, and it's supposed to insert you into sacred time. So this is a spiritual time, and then the entire orientation of your day changes as well. So we end up going to sleep around 12 o'clock, probably at night. We wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to eat. Then we probably go to sleep around 6 o'clock again, wake up again for 9 for work. And so we're just constantly, and so the idea is that at night you're praying and you're fasting and you're enjoying time with family. During the day, you're working and praying. So the idea is that it just sort of, it's a jolt. And also another thing that's important is that through the month, you're supposed to try to start one habit that you keep throughout the rest of your life. So the idea is that as the Ramadans go throughout your life, you're accumulating better and better habits, right? Whether it's praying more or it's fasting or not doing something that you shouldn't be doing, you accumulate good habits over the course of your lifetime. And especially now, fasting also then helps you to understand the suffering of those who don't have food, right? So there's so many people in the world that just don't have access to the type of food that we have. We're very lucky that we have so much here in this country, especially, but even people in this country are not so lucky the way that we are. We have jobs and we have money. So you know, it's a time of giving as well. So generally, the majority of Muslims, they give their tithing to the poor during this month. And there's supposed to be great blessings during this month of sort of giving to the poor. So I think it's different things to different people. But I think it's just an important time for families to connect. You know, we share a meal in the morning together, we share a meal in the evening together, rather than everyone just eating at their own time. So it's supposed to be a time where it breaks us out of our traditions and sort of our momentum in life, and it stops us a little bit and it forces it to rethink kind of what's really important in life. So I think that's kind of what it does. Want to say anything else? Okay, so we're just going to start eating a little bit, and I will turn it over to Professor Larson. I'll spotlight him, and maybe you can say a few thoughts about sort of fasting and then kind of what the pandemic experience has been for you.
Okay. Thank you, Iqbal, and thank you for those great starting words to help us to think about this time of Ramadan. And I would like to start by saying salam alaikum to all of you. It's a great joy to be here. I'm Christian in background, so, but I always love getting together with Muslims. I have lived in the Middle East for several years of my life in various countries. My academic training is in Near Eastern languages and literature, so I studied a lot of Arabic and early Islamic history. I've been at FIU now for about 25 years, and when I first came, I was the Islamic studies professor as well. I also do ancient history, Jewish and Christian history. Over the years, we started hiring other colleagues who kind of took a lot of the Islamic studies courses, but I still do a course called Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, and I'm about to start another round of that on Monday when classes start for the summer. So with all that, it's a great joy to be with you, and I love spending time with Iqbal and Safreen and Carlos, and I think various ones of you I've met through the years as well. Since Iqbal asked about the coronavirus too, I have found it really interesting, as we often say our world is in crisis right now. It's in chaos, and we all feel that way. But every now and then when I read in the newspapers, I think to myself, well, it's our world that's in chaos. It's not the world that's in chaos. And for all the other living things, maybe they are taking a collective sigh of relief right now. So it was interesting. I love the city of Venice. And if you follow Venice in the news lately, they've had a lot of flooding with global warming and the rise of the tides and so on. It's really challenging for that city. And then Italy got hit so hard with the coronavirus. But interestingly enough, and surprisingly, a few weeks after everything shut down in Venice, the canals cleared up. And most recently, they started seeing jellyfish had come, and they hadn't seen jellyfish in the canals in Venice for years and years. A London newspaper had a story about a little town on the seaside in England where I guess some farmers had brought in, believe it or not, Kashmiri goats. And they said, we're going to bring these animals to England. And they were living up in the Highlands, and they had really become like wild goats, a little herd of about 150 or so. And when this little town closed down, the goats started coming down, and they're walking through the empty streets like they own the town. And all the residents, find it very amusing. More importantly, from satellites and from measurements, we know that pollution is going down across the globe. In some cities, the dark and dingy skies have cleared up, and now they've become blue. And the measures of pollution have dropped from 30 to 60%. It's just incredible. So the world itself, the world that we live in, the physical world, is having a little bit of a comeback. And that's kind of a heartening thing. In the midst of all the hard and difficult things that we're facing, that's something very positive. I have been reading, there is a kind of a movement in England, and everybody's thinking about how do we start up again and what do we do? But a lot of people are thinking that when we do start up again, we should try to make some progress in the way that we treat the world. And maybe, this would be an opportunity, as we're refunding industries and things like that, that we prioritize the green industries, right? And we could use this as an opportunity. We see the effects that shutting the factories and not driving so much are having. In England, there's a kind of a catchphrase that they're using, and it's called build back better, right? So everybody's talking, when we come back, let's build back better. So I thought, as I was thinking about Ramadan, right? And one of the things that is so wonderful about the fasting, you're kind of pulling yourself away, as Iqbal said, from your usual habits and trying to do something new. And that one of those new things is to become a better person. So at the end of Ramadan, how amazing is it to build back better, that we become a better person. Since I teach this kind of comparative religion course, and I'll just kind of finish with this, a little bit of a nod to the Jewish and the Christian traditions that I'm also familiar with. In Judaism, there's not a lot of emphasis. Neither of the other two monotheistic religions have anything like Ramadan, really, where you would fast for a month. But there is fasting built into Judaism at different times. So in the Bible, many times when people were repenting from their sins, they might fast for a certain period of time. Sometimes they would wear different clothing. The Bible has a name for it. They would sit in sackcloth and ashes, if you've ever heard it. And it's kind of, the ideas of mourning here and being sorry for something that you've done wrong. But fasting would often go along with that. There is a day in Judaism. It's not a day that's mentioned in the Bible, but later on it becomes a traditional day of fasting, and it's called the 9th of Av. But really the most special time of fasting in Judaism is for one day and 24 hours where you don't eat anything at all. And it's called the Day of Atonement. So on that day, back in ancient times, the high priest would enter into the Holy of Holies when there was a temple in Jerusalem, and he would make atonement for the sins of the people. And the people would be outside fasting. And all of this, the significance of this kind of fasting is not so much that you're sorry for something, but it's the idea that you pull away from the usual so you can move to something more. And that something more, of course, in this case is God. And to think about the importance of having a right relationship with God, having forgiveness, and that kind of thing. And that's a platform then, obviously, to go and build better relations with your fellow humans as well. In Christianity, there's not a whole lot of institutionalized fasting, though interestingly enough, through the history of Christianity, there has been a big emphasis on asceticism, and that includes fasting, that includes living a solitary life so that you could be more devoted to God. But I am interested, there are a number of places where Jesus pulls away from society, and maybe the most famous one for fasting, you may know the story, right after his baptism by John the Baptist, Jesus goes away and he fasts for 40 days and 40 nights. And this is a really climactic moment in his life in the New Testament, because right after this, he goes out and he begins his public ministry. But as a kind of a preparation to have that closeness with God and that dedication to God, he fasts for 40 days and 40 nights. Certainly that's a good challenge. And that's it. So I wish you all, during this time, if you're fasting, that you find it a very beneficial experience. I have fasted myself at different times. I don't think I've ever done it a whole month, during the daytime, but I find it a really powerful thing to do. And I wish you all rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
All right. Thank you so much, Erik. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move next to Professor Carlos. Maybe you could just, this is the first year that you're starting to fast, and maybe you can share some thoughts about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everybody for showing up, and also thank you, Iqbal, for having convened this really interesting gathering. As I said when I first introduced myself, this is my first time really trying to fast, really trying to do the whole month. And well, in order to explain why that is, I have to just briefly explain that my relationship to Islam and to the spiritual tradition of Islam has been a long-term one since essentially I started graduate school. But my path into the actual ritual practice of Islam is much more complicated. This has really been the first time that I've kind of had the sort of spiritual strength and also the sort of social scaffolding, the social support that would allow me to do it. It's been interesting to kind of see the practice from the inside, because as a historian, I learn all about the origins of the fasting practice, its origins in, well, its ancestors in earlier Abrahamic fasting practices and things like Yom Kippur, or the sort of various pre-Islamic tribal Arab traditions of fasting. Learn all of that stuff. Read a lot about the sort of spiritual rationale for fasting as explained by scholars like Al-Ghazali, who wrote a whole book on fasting. I've read all that stuff, and I've known and thought about that for a while. But actually putting it into practice, actually doing the fast is a very different matter entirely. So I didn't grow up Muslim. So I have no sort of well, my mind and body is not used to fasting. Let's just put it that way. So, learning to wake up early, eat as much as I can, go back to sleep, progressively feel sort of weaker and slower as the day goes by, and then finally learn how to eat and learn how to eat the right things and learn how to sort of manage the breaking of the fast. All of these were very subtle skills that I am, let me be very frank, I'm struggling with a little bit. I mean, it's quite difficult. So there's this kind of physical strain, this sort of physical and mental strain that underlies the whole experience for me so far. That said, there is also a profound sort of spiritual movement that I also feel to be happening during this time. And I think this is why the practice has remained such an enduring and central part of Islamic spirituality for 1400 years. Because you know, someone like myself who has a very sort of complicated and somewhat academic relationship to the Islamic tradition in some ways, even someone like myself is just profoundly kind of humbled by the magnitude of the fasting, by the magnitude of this experience. And this is, well, we'll see, you know, what I learned from it in the long run, but in the short run, it's a tremendously humbling and amazing experience. One thing I'll say about the sort of quality of fasting for me, the quality it gives my days, is because of the sacrifice of not eating is felt every second of the day. It turns the entire day into a kind of devotional practice. It makes the entire day a kind of prayer in a way. And I'll also say that this is probably the first time in my life I've been able to do the 5 daily prayers without any problem. So it changes the sort of tenor of the days into one that's devotional. It makes every day kind of a worship act. And well, that's one sort of subjective experience I'm having. Another, and this is maybe a little less, a little harder to talk about, is that it's a deeply trying experience. It is testing me, and it's testing my relationship to this tradition, to the idea of the revelation, to the idea of law, of Islamic law. It's testing all of those things very viscerally, literally viscerally. And it is making me have to account to myself every moment why I'm doing it and what is the kind of enduring existential purpose of this exercise. So it's, after this is all over, you know, either I'll have successfully fasted and successfully kind of rationalized and understood my faith at a deeper level, or it will have shown shortcomings or shown some other well, it will have shown something else. So it's both an instructional experience, a testing experience, and a devotional experience all at once. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say for now. I'm sorry if my remarks weren't completely coherent, but you know, my blood sugar is a little low, so.
I think it's great. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your the honesty. Yeah. I think that's something that touches us all, I think. Yeah. All right, so next I will turn it over to Sister Halima. If you can maybe just say a few words, and then we will go with Venu.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So I appreciate you sharing, Carlos, about your experience. I actually took Shahada in 2008 from Judaism. So, you know, I understood a lot what the other gentleman was talking about. And for me, this has been a very, very interesting time, because normally I would be going to California, at least for the last 2 weeks of Ramadan. So the fact that I'm indoors being sequestered, you know, was a very interesting part of my journey, because I'm by myself, you know, so I don't have my peeps with me, you know, and we're all on Zoom. So it's a very, very interesting experience. I actually have been feeling very, very grateful, because this has been an opportunity to go inwards. And fasting, I didn't really do it full tilt last year, mostly just the 2 weeks. But this year, I'm really embarking on every single day, and it's a moment by moment decision. You know, I wake up in the morning and I'm going to fast again. You know, I take it one day at a time, and I'm being very merciful with myself in that process. Also, there's a different type of fasting. It's not just a physical fasting, but it's a spiritual fasting. you know, by watching what you say, like Iqbal had said in the beginning, and watching your thoughts even, and catching yourself. And when you catch yourself, asking forgiveness in that moment. And I have learned that when you do that, that allows it to not really be fully embodied inside of you. So you're already recognizing the mistake, and by expressing it, you know, sooner than later, then it allows it to dissipate. And there's mercy. And we're actually in the forgiveness stage of the 3 parts of Ramadan. So I'm very much involved in making tawbah and asking Allah, God, to forgive me for anything I might have done knowingly or unknowingly. And I have definitely ramped up that. Fasting for me has been with a sahura of a smoothie shake for the most part. And the getting up in the morning, if I stay up, it's not a problem. However, if I go to sleep, that can be a little bit more challenging. So I've actually been putting myself, gonna laugh, but I've been putting myself on my less comfortable couch to keep me awake. And the other beautiful thing is, rather than my comfy bed, the other thing is the Quran. The opportunity for the Quran to really open up. I've been blessed to have an opportunity to be learning Arabic at this time. So it's kind of opening up in a whole nother way by following every single day, reading a juz, inshallah. Don't always make it, but it feels really good, even if it's just the transliteration. And I've been listening to a lot of recitation as well. So I really feel like Allah has kind of, with this pandemic, has given us a beautiful extra opportunity to go inward. And I've really taken full advantage of that. You know, even going shopping is a big deal. So that's pretty much what it's been like here for me. And I feel very, very blessed to, I feel that there are good things that are going to come out of this pandemic. I feel that we're here for a reason. Allah has a purpose, even though we don't know exactly what that is yet. And I do feel that, you know, there are some new places that people might be looking at making some changes in the future in our different education, health, you know, medical and things like that. So, alhamdulillah.
Thank you so
for
much
giving
for
me the
sharing.
opportunity.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for attending. So I'm going to move it next to Venu, who is in Gainesville right now, Florida, University of Florida. She's a wonderful doctoral student. She just passed her comprehensive examinations in religious studies and now is working on her dissertation. So we're very honored to have her. Welcome, Venu.
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal Akhtar. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. The first thing is about Islam and Ramadan. I would admit honestly that I have learned more about Islam and Ramadan from my family friends and people that I know from India and who are Muslim than from my academic study of Islam in the US. Because I've grown up in a family where we have lots of family friends, my teachers, neighbors who are Muslim, and they have demonstrated the ways in which you know, they follow Ramadan, fasting, and all other peaceful practices. I remember my school teachers who had who used to observe you know, fasting during Ramadan, but would come and teach for hours and hours, speak for hours and hours, and we never thought at the time that how do they get this energy. But then as I grew up, then when I start discussing it with people, and when, you know, these people are like people that I know, they are not like, you know, those who go to school and they learn academically what Islam is or what Ramadan is, but their conviction, their dedication towards the tradition, what the tradition is, what is the idea behind the tradition. It's, I think, rather, you know, the most authentic source of information and understanding. So it's always been very nice. My mom's best friend, so the family is Muslim, and you know, so we are Jain, and we also believe in fasting, because the same way for 10 days we have the fasting practice, and on the last day of fasting we seek for forgiveness. But my mom is like, she's 75 years old, and if she would not be able to keep the fasting, my mom's friend who is Muslim, she would do on behalf of her, so on behalf of our family. So that is how the harmony and that, this fasting tradition, the thoughts behind fasting, it keeps the harmony and friendship alive. So I see lots of similarity. I see lots of friendship through this tradition and through this practice. And I'm really very happy to talk about all these things during this Zoom meeting. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the pandemic situation that we are facing. What I observed and experienced during this pandemic situation is that the power equation really changed. If I talk about like South Asia and specifically those countries who are considered third world country, and we have neglected certain people, we have never taken note of many services and people, and this is the time when they are really helping helping out in this situation. They are really working hard. And now for example, those who clean the roads and sanitation officers and all that, we had never taken note of them specifically in India, and now they are the one who are considered like coronavirus warriors. So this things have changed. We have realized that we have always neglected things, these people and their services, and we have been abusing nature a lot, and this pandemic has taught us that human beings are not we don't have the supreme power. We have to live in a coordination with nature, and if we respect nature, it will respect us back. So hope that we come out of this situation. Is quite challenging, but there is a lot to learn, and it's good that, as Dr. Akhtar has said, that we have we have food, we have shelter. I think about all those who are not having such facilities as we have, and still they are facing this, still they are surviving in this situation. So and good that we have lots of tradition, our religion, our faith, that keeps us moving and moving on and on, even in this severe situation and condition. So I wish all of you good luck, good health, safe and well-being and safety during this time. And again, I thank Zafreen and Dr. Akhtar for arranging this Zoom iftar gathering.
It's so wonderful that you were able to join us. So
Yeah.
I wanted just to reach out. There's some people who joined a little later, so I just wanted you guys to introduce yourselves. I see Brother Fuad is here, Raquel is here, Marie is here, Professor Tao.
And do you want to tell them what the format is, so
Fatima.
they introduce themselves? And
yeah, so just everyone introduce themselves, like who you are, and then we'll go around and just sort of get your perspectives on what's going on in terms of fasting and the pandemic. Yeah. So anybody that wants to introduce themselves, Sanaa, I know Professor Ma's here. If you guys want to introduce yourself, or if not, that's fine.
also, I want to say that there are people from different parts of the world that might be a part of this, and there are also people that are from different parts of the country that have joined us, for which we are very grateful. So, Dr. Fuad, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Fuad. I'm in New York, Staten Island.
So, and how are things going with you?
Good, alhamdulillah, so far. I have been here for 3 years, so I had a very good time so far. Last 2 Ramadan I was here. This is my 3rd one in New York. So it was really a very good experience. This year, the difference is a pandemic, so that makes the experience a little bit different. But I was happy today to join you guys, and I was very excited to share the experience with you. I grew up fasting Ramadan, but after I moved here, it was almost pretty much the same, but it has different flavor. MashaAllah, I like it. Hopefully, I will learn from you how it goes day by day. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We
Thank
really
you so much
appreciate
for joining us. Really appreciate it.
it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sanaa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Sanaa Abbasi and I teach Urdu, which is a foreign language at Florida International University. The semester kind of ended, but I can't go back because of the whole COVID situation. So my visa has been extended. But yeah, I used to teach Urdu at FIU and I'm here on a Fulbright scholarship. And that's pretty much it.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan, Lahore. So I'm from Pakistan.
From my hometown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. Raquel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Raquel. I have been, I'm a graduate of FIU, and I have known Iqbal since the beginning of his academic career. I was one of his, I had the privilege of being one of his students in almost all of his classes. We became close friends. I have seen the many facets of his career and his life, and I have been blessed to be part of it and continue to be part of it. Alhamdulillah. I am in central New York at the moment. For me, Ramadan is a time not only for fasting. Unfortunately, this year I cannot do the fast because of health reasons. But on the other hand, I always feel that Ramadan calls us to be of service and to step outside of ourselves, because we are surrounded by our needs, our immediate needs, our family needs. We worry about our families all the time, but it asks us to sacrifice and to give to others and to step up your service. So here where I live, the elderly community is very needy. And so we try very much to help those homebound elderly people who cannot shop for themselves. So a group of us try to give them service in that sense. These are people that live alone, that have very few friends. A lot of them don't have family. So for me, Ramadan this year has been particularly a calling to commit myself to give to those who have nothing or any contact outside of their home because of their limitations. Also, the pandemic has revealed, the cracks in our society, the many cracks along many sections of our society. So we have to step up as citizens, not only of our immediate communities, but try to come together and think about and request of our leaders, if after this pandemic, how can we change things for the better? What can we expect out of our society after we get over this period? And I think it's going to take a lot of effort. I think that's going to take a lot of effort. There are a lot of hungry people, a lot of children who go hungry. So here in this region, a lot of us are just trying to give to the needy, to the elderly, and to those who really don't have any jobs right now or the money to buy the food that they need for their families. And that's pretty much right now how things stand. I hope that you are blessed generously, so that you can continue to give to others generously as well. And I think the Muslim community is an example of that.
Thank you so much, Raquel. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna turn it over to Kat to say just a kind of her perspective on fasting and kind of how things are going right now.
Hey, assalamu alaikum, guys. So fasting and how things are going right now. I am definitely gonna piggyback off of what Carlos said. And I think he articulated it so beautifully, even though he said his blood sugar is really low. Mashallah, Carlos, it was, there was a phrase that you used that I was like, that is such a perfect way of explaining what fasting was. It was something about the foundation, the pillars or something. I don't remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was a really beautiful way of sharing what we experienced, the highs and the lows. And as a convert like Sister Halima and like some others possibly on the call, it's been challenging, especially this year, because the past 5 Ramadans that I've celebrated, every single night I'm at the masjid. Every single night I'm surrounded by a community of people who are so warm and welcoming. And now I'm living in a new city, and it's been challenging to fast alone and to especially break fast alone. So that part has been a little interesting, and it's been a challenge. And then what Dr. Larson said in the beginning about sages and Christianity, and being someone who was raised Roman Catholic and searching for the stories of all of these amazing saints that we learned in Catholic school. They spend a lot of time alone. That is a part of Catholicism particularly. So since I'm in my little studio apartment alone, I have been spending a lot of time alone and dedicating a lot of time to read the Quran, which I don't usually do when I'm spending every day at work and then all of the evenings at the masjid for night prayers. So this has been a very interesting Ramadan. And it's been very different, but it's a bit of a welcome difference. But it is, I will say, it has been tremendously lonely. So that's been a test for me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing.
I think, thank you, Kat, for sharing. I think one of the themes that's coming up is like Raquel said about like service, and then trying to reach out to people who are elderly and lonely, and also people who are away from their homes right now, like, you know, Sanaa or Kat or Fuad, and then they're by themselves and they're isolated, and specifically at a time specifically for Muslims, when it's all about like community and family and celebrating and enjoying like with others, and like making food and preparation, and then just coming all together and eating. I think it's particularly hard. But I don't know which one of the speakers said it, like that it's also a time to go deeply inward. I can't remember, like raise your hand if you're the one who said it. But I think definitely it's a time to go inward, and like Raquel said, that it's also, and Iqbal said in one of his previous talks he was giving, trying to make sense of the pandemic, that this is also a time that Iqbal's paraphrasing what he was saying about the pandemic in a previous talk, that the inequities have been heightened, or they have become more visible, or they have come to the surface in a way that this loneliness that we're experiencing specifically now is a part and parcel of someone's entire life or their entire existence, be it elderly or the homebound, or, you know, like that people who may not have families. So I think that Erik Larson was mentioning build it better together. I think, Erik, is the tagline. So I really, really wish that that's something that I can remember and take it forward with me when things come back to normal, to remind myself of the loneliness or the fear or the hunger that I experienced. And just when things get back to normal, I can remember others who are experiencing the same and be inclusive of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was thinking, Hilary, did you want to? Do you have? I would love to hear what you have to say and kind of your perspective. I know you've just come back from Africa, and it would be really wonderful to hear kind of what's going through your mind and how's your experience been.
Sure, I'd be glad to. And I hope I was nodding as everybody was talking because I could connect with so many things that I've already just heard. So I probably should first say that my experience with Ramadan doesn't come through academic learning. It doesn't come through growing up with it or even converting. I'm Christian and grew up Christian, but not Roman Catholic, Protestant. And many of you, probably already know this, but in a country like Senegal, where the majority population is Muslim, the minority population is mainly Roman Catholic. I mean, some Protestants, but mainly Roman Catholic. And so this is how it was explained to me recently, that Catholics find ways to equate their practices with Islam, because it gives everybody a sense that they're in it together in a way. And so as I was, a few weeks before I was leaving Senegal, I was there for Lent. So, the period in Christianity, where you're not required to fast per se, but in Senegal, Roman Catholics take that as their Ramadan. And so, and even though I'm not Catholic, I every time I'm in Senegal, I'm much more drawn to my religious practices that I've known before. And then it's always a time for me where I'm also pulled deeper into that connection to spirituality. And this time for me, really, I was going to Mass almost, every Sunday, and I was very much participating in the life of the church there. And, so it was fascinating to me because I'd get in a taxi and the Muslim taxi driver would say, "Oh, it's the time of fasting. How are you doing? Is everything okay? We know this is a difficult time." And I would think, yeah, I'm fasting, but I'm not fasting the way that you fast during Ramadan. And I've had periods where when I was doing research in Senegal, I was doing that. In fact, the last time I was in Senegal, I celebrated the cutting of the fast, and they have words in Wolof for that, the language that they speak there. But when they cut the fast, it's also a time that's very solemn, but it's very community based, as you explained. And during the whole day, because everyone is in practice together, there's a kind of common understanding that life moves so much slower, and that you do focus on, different sort of aspects of your life. Charity, the meetings, the readings, the recitations, a lot of prayer meetings that go on all night long, and also kind of joyous celebration. And you can't eat so much, right? The notion that somehow when the sun goes down, you can just eat. At least there, it doesn't work that way. And it's very close to the Sahara. And, if it's hot all the time, but, when you're really in the dry season, there are all sorts of ways in which you have to adjust your body to the climate, to the kind of every day rehabituating yourself to eating again, which I always found really profound. For me, this year was really interesting because I left right before Easter, and before maybe I left on the 20th of March. So I think Ramadan started soon after that. Or no, I'm sorry, Easter was soon after that, and then Ramadan followed. And Senegal, being in sub-Saharan Africa, they've had experience with pandemic. They were right on the frontier of the Ebola outbreak a few years ago. Even though it didn't really affect Senegal deeply, they have many, the government has all kinds of practices for stockpiling food, for getting medical supplies. They were when I left, they were doing 1-hour testing over there. And so, there's all kinds of technical ways in which they've learned to approach an epidemic, but it's a country in which, people, there's so much food insecurity. I think there was more fear of famine as a result of the food supplies being cut off from other parts of the world than maybe the disease itself. But, one of the sort of interesting things for me as I was hearing people talk is everything was just sort of beginning to shut down in a different way, right? Because of the pandemic, the airspace closed, all the foreigners left. I mean, there are still people there, but most, if you were associated with any government organization, had to leave. No more traffic on the streets. Everything went into this completely different mode. When you talk to people about it, they would say, well, this is really terrible, but if it's the will of Allah, this is what will happen. There's such a great, and in Senegal, maybe more so than in other Muslim contexts. I don't want to say that this is, by any means something that everyone experiences, but the sense that there's fate and there's destiny that's guiding this, and a bigger power behind what we're experiencing in terms of the pandemic, gives people a different kind of attitude about the lives that they're living. I would be fascinated to be there now and hear the discussions at night when people are breaking the fast about, how they're thinking about the world. But to come back into this context in the US and be thrust into the chaos of this, and also the kind of way in which we haven't looked after each other in the same ways. I was hearing, some of you speaking about taking care of people who are maybe do not have all the resources, or who have to be on the front lines, who are going into hospitals every day, doing the cleaning, who don't, aren't working and don't have food, and so forth. There are all kinds of ways in which in a society like Senegal, people kind of come around each other and take care of each other in ways that I don't think we've been sort of used to doing here. So one of the things that this period of the pandemic has done for me is that, and it's not been deliberate, because again, I haven't been thinking about Ramadan in this way, but it's really made me focus more on reading the Bible, on, on my own interior, my own interiority, but in an effort to kind of channel my feelings about what we're all going through. And I live alone, so in some ways I'm quarantined, but I always say I'm with others on Zoom and in all kinds of ways. But it's made me really much more contemplative and reliant upon the things that I know about faith that maybe I had sort of let go a little bit. So that's sort of what I'm experiencing personally. And hearing this conversation about Ramadan made me think about the last time I broke the fast in Senegal. And just, we had a night with a friend in which we were on her patio, eating, not eating, sleeping on cushions until about 2 a.m. And then her husband popped up with grilled goat, they call it DB there, or grilled lamb. And, the second round began, and that's unusual. People don't always, have 2 or 3 meals at night, but I just remember that so well. And unfortunately, she passed away soon after that. So that period with her will always be really sacred to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, that's really wonderful. I wanted to just we do like a quick introduction, Professor Ma, and then we'll go to Kamran then. So I will, let me see if I can, and I'll say hi to Uncle Kishore and Auntie Hansa. They're there. So they're my uncle and aunt who live across the street right now. So we made food and we dropped food off this evening.
Yes, indeed, yes.
I made these like rice cakes, these Chinese type rice cakes, and it took like 5 days to ferment the rice, and it was just like a huge thing, but it was kind of fun because it's something similar that we have in East Africa called vitumbua. So it was really nice to be able to make something like that. So I'll move to Professor Ma, who is one of our 3 visiting scholars from China that's here.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'm a Hui Muslim from China. Now, as a visiting scholar, I come to FIU University. I'm very happy to be here. Ramadan is a very, very important month for all Muslims. Actually, as planned, I wanted to experience and I wanted to know the major practices of Muslims in Miami. But due to the influence of COVID-19, I failed to know the details in Miami. Actually, in China, especially in my village, usually all the villages in my commune are Muslims. We will get up at the same time in the morning and breakfast at the same time in the evening. And the master or the imam will call for all the villages and inform the time of fast breaking and fasting. Actually, for me, I think it will be very, very important if I can experience the same activities in Miami. I think it will be important in my life. Even though it is, I cannot, my plan cannot be fulfilled here due to the COVID-19. I'm very happy to be here and share the ideas and listen to you to tell your feelings, your ideas, your reflections in Ramadan. It will be also, no matter where I am, seeing you and listening to you, I'm very, very happy. I have the feeling of at home, and I experienced and I feel the sense of brotherhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Ma. It's an honor to have you with us in Miami. And so, for those of you who don't know, then Professor Ma is a professor in Xi'an, and he's a linguist, and he's done some really amazing work right now looking at how COVID-19 rumors spread in China, and sort of how truth and sort of trying to understand how humans are using social media to communicate both truth and rumors, on WeChat in China. So he's in really trailblazing work, and so we're really honored that he's been able to join us in Miami. Sorry that we can't be in person, but we will see you soon. So now I will move on to Kamran. If you'd like to say kind of a few words in your perspective on fasting and in the pandemic, yeah.
Sure thing. Is everybody able to hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah.
All right, awesome. I was a little bit earlier during the session, I was having some bandwidth issues. That's why I just want to see if everything is fine. I just want to give you a heads up if there's if for whatever reason I get dropped off or whatever, it's because having some bandwidth issues in my area right now. Nevertheless, what I'll talk about is in the format of my thoughts about the whole virus pandemic, Ramadan, and then observing Ramadan during this virus pandemic. Regards with this virus, it's just so crazy to think that a small speck that we cannot notice with using our 5 senses has really brought this whole world upside down. And at the same time, to a little bit piggyback off of what Professor Larson had said, was the factor of how environmentally speaking, it has become a lot better. I saw this photo of, it showed a photo of Los Angeles, of the Los Angeles skyline. It showed how day one of the lockdown, how it looked, because Los Angeles has a lot of air population, so the big smog over the skyline. Then it showed day 30 of the lockdown, and then it showed present day. And it showed that it's just clear skies and so forth. And as Professor Larson mentioned too, in that there's a lot more animals that you see out, a lot of in my area, I see a lot more birds out and about. The weather has actually been a lot better too. Usually around this time it gets really hot, but it's pretty cool at this time. And then also me personally, we started to work from home around mid-March. And at the same time, it has given a chance for everybody to really slow down, to really take a step back from things and to really focus on what's necessary in their life, right? I know towards the beginning, a lot of people were doing a lot of deep cleaning in their houses, getting rid of items that they were hoarding and all this stuff. And now they're just trying to figure out what to do with with the time and all that. For me personally, I've just been doing a lot of reading, especially doing a lot more consistent reading of Quran. With the observing Ramadan, typically I started to observe, to do all 30 days of fasting, I say around middle school time. Let's say middle school time was when I started to observe all 30 days of fasting. And then over the years, I started to realize that it's not just abstaining from food or drink, it's from abstaining from other things as well, such as really abstaining from bad behavior and be able to pick up good habits, as what Iqbal mentioned earlier. And then later on, I just viewed it as a break from life as well. Really, as I mentioned again, the chance to slow down and really just kind of find ways to drop some bad habits and pick up some good ones at the same time, and trying to be able to be more consistent with the Quran. Observing Ramadan during this pandemic, one of my favorite things during the month of Ramadan is being able to go to the masjid for nightly prayer. The reason being is that there's this, when you go outside of the month of Ramadan to the masjid for nightly prayer, I mean, it's great and all, but during the month, there's a different level of serenity that you observe during that time. And at the same time, you get to see people that you haven't seen in quite a while. You get to catch up with them and so forth. It's just a really good feeling overall. So with that part not being there, it's kind of been a little bit of it's been different in that sense. However, I was listening to the local imam over here at Nurul Salam Academy. I've been listening to also a lot of lectures as well, most particularly from Sheikh Omar Suleiman. And one of the things he said was that the only thing that's different between Ramadan this year compared to in the past is the fact that the masjid is closed. But everything else that you could be able to do during the month of Ramadan, you could be able to do it. And that kind of really changed my mind. I was like, okay, yeah, I could be able to do all that stuff. And for example, still not being able to go to nightly prayer at the masjid, I could still be able to do it at home, read Quran at home, and so forth. Yes, the community aspect is missing, but modern day technology has allowed us to be able to do virtual sessions such as right now and be able to connect with everybody that you haven't seen in a long time. I'm sure my time limit is up, therefore I won't go any further. I'll turn it back to Bob.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna turn the spotlight to Fatima. Maybe you can say a few words on your perspective.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It was a real delight listening to everyone's different stories and different religions, and it's really beautiful event that you put together. So I'm very lucky this year. I'm usually based in the New York area, but this year I'm working down here helping my brother in Miami. So I've been very lucky. I've been quarantining with my mother, who's like one of the best cooks in the world. So every day I've been having excellent iftars. Even our juices like this is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's the Egyptian hibiscus. We're originally Egyptian. Every year Ramadan for me is quite, depending on where I am, I lived in many different countries, I traveled a lot, but it's usually like very social first and then religious is like sort of secondary in a way. Especially like when I'm in Egypt, it's all about the food and the relatives and people not sleeping and, you know, whoever can fit in some prayers and that kind of thing. This year is maybe one of the few times in my life that I've been able to pray 5 times a day. And it's part of it is not just the Ramadan and waking up early for suhoor and to pray Fajr, but it's also because there's a kind of serenity this year where you're home a lot because of the quarantine. So you can sort of make time for these things that even though I've always wanted to, this year has been much easier. So I've been very grateful for that. I'm a news junkie, so I follow a lot of the news and I work in strategy in my full-time career. So I'm, you know, always looking into connecting the dots and trying to figure out like the spiritual angle and all of this. And it's quite fascinating regarding the pandemic this year because it's something that affects everyone. It's like the first time I talked to any of my cousins in Egypt, for example, and we're facing the same exact problem, regardless of our income, regardless of if they're in a village somewhere. We're talking about the N95 masks. We're talking about the same exact things. So it's very weird that the whole entire world suddenly connected. And it's something that affects the very rich, the prime ministers, to everyone. So it's been quite fascinating for me to experience this. Of course, there's a lot of negative, but there's also, as many people mentioned, a lot of positives as well. For me personally, I have a lot of immediate family in the medical field. So every day I check up on them as well and try to keep them motivated and keep them safe. I'm like, sort of like the nagger in the family, you know, try to make it like, keep them on their toes and so they could be safe. But yeah, so this has been a very interesting, very different Ramadan for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Appreciate it. Okay, you wanna?
So I have my aunt from Buffalo, New York has joined us, her family, Farina Shah. Would you guys like to say something about how you're fasting in Buffalo?
Hey, Salam, everybody.
Assalamualaikum, everyone.
Salam. You guys see us?
Yes, we see you.
Okay, good, good. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Good. Hey, so guys, we are from Buffalo, New York. It's still snowing over here, so that makes it worse. But this pandemic has been interesting. This is unprecedented. They are, you know, this is something that everybody's experiencing worldwide, and in this time, you know, I guess in these trying times, what is more is important is faith. You realize that you are thankful for many things. You know, thankful for a job, thankful for family, and Ramadan. You know, I think is good because it's a good reminder of you know, hardship that's out there. You know, there's a lot of, you know, these days especially, there's a lot of hunger out there. You know, I when I drive around, I still go to work. I still have to go to work being in IT. But you know, I see signs that, you know, outside the churches and outside of schools for free meals, and you realize that there's a lot of hunger and you know, poverty in the world still. So Ramadan is a good time to reflect, and also, you know, I personally believe that fasting is a good way to get rid of toxins in your body. It's a good way to you know, kind of nourish yourself. So, you know, again, I think this is an important time for faith, regardless of, you know, what you believe in. I think if we continue to have faith, I think we can get through this. In terms of community over here, people are doing a lot. There's a lot of, there's a group of ladies that made mass, Muslim ladies that made mass. There was a food giveaway here from the local community. We're doing Zoom prayers and Zoom lectures like this one. So there's a lot going on. The general community around Buffalo is amazing. I mean, they call this the city of good neighbors, and for a good reason. People have really stepped up, from everything from fundraising to giving away food. So, but I appreciate Iqbal and Zafreen doing this. This is a great opportunity for us to participate as well. So, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you guys have 2 children who are also staying with you at home.
We're all safe and sound. We're hunkered down. Life is somewhat returning back to normal. Upstate isn't too bad. I mean, it's not as bad as New York City, obviously, but life is generally, if you go out, there's more traffic. I was at Home Depot today, and lots of people. The grocery stores are jam packed. Any store or restaurant that's open is pretty much jam packed. Starbucks, the line goes out the road. It's crazy, but so people are doing things with masks and social distancing, which is nice. But you're starting to see life out there, even though, like I say, the weather's been horrible here. It's mid-May almost, and it's snowing. So we hope to get rid of that snow soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
You want to go to him?
Let me see if Professor Mesbahi, are you there? I don't know if Professor Mesbahi is there. I'm not sure.
You want to unmute him?
No, I'm not.
All right, so we
I'm
need
just hiding here to just say hello.
Okay, so do you have any? We need to hear your wisdom about our world.
Do you want to tell me?
I don't have any wisdom, actually. No, I think it. Obviously, this is a very different time. But for me, Ramadan is always nostalgia. Although I've been here for 40 years, but I still, when Ramadan comes, it reminds me home. I can't dislodge from that memory. My dad, my mom, who not here anymore, passed away a couple of years ago, and childhood memories and all that. And I think, ironically, I still see those memories as my main asset in life. I always go back to them.
What are some childhood memories that you have growing up in Iran around Ramzan and your family?
I think just the beauty of good people around you. This is what I remember. Not many rich people, not many extremely poor people, but many good people. That you could, by just being around them, you know they were good. And I miss that a lot. I mean, they are still here too, but I think it was interesting for me that you could get the vibe from certain people without saying anything, without talking, without lecturing you. You just know that you are the presence of good people. And I think that affects you for the rest of your life. How did they get there? How they became who they are without talking about it? I paid attention to them, and my grandfather, my uncles, a bunch of neighbors, my dad, obviously. And I think what I took from them was that they, more or less, they live their life the way they talk about it. There was very little hypocrisy between what they said about life and what they actually did. And what they did, most of these people were extremely kind to others, very kind to others. And that affects you, it affects me tremendously. And I've been trying very hard to maybe contribute to something like that. Been in Miami for 40 years, almost, with some success here and there. And I think these are the stuff that I look for to see in Miami all the time. To see goodness in people and see if I can draw something out of them to me and get some reflection out of that. So So Ramadan is because it's a month of goodness, maybe we have the best opportunity to actually see more goodness in people than other times. I don't know if that's a wisdom or not.
But I think it's an important lesson that we should be learning, you know, definitely. So I don't know if anybody else would like to comment or give their perspective. I know Marie and Hasib, I think, are connected from old friends from Colorado. Miroslav is here, Sarah is here. Nikki, I don't know if any of you guys want to say anything in terms of your perspectives or your time or life. Marie, great to see you.
Hey, assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm laughing because Hasib just got shy and ran away, but
okay. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys too, alhamdulillah. I'll be really quick. I'm home with 2 little kids. Well, they're not little anymore, but usually Ramadan is a little bit harder for, you know, moms with kids, and it's been nice being able to do Taraweeh and eat iftar together every night as a family. So actually we've had a much calmer and nicer Ramadan than usual, actually. Although I do know what it's like as a convert to not have the community, you know, going to the masjid and seeing everybody every day. But yeah, that's about it. We're doing good, alhamdulillah. Thank you, Iqbal. It's nice to see you guys.
Of course, great seeing you.
Very nice to meet you, Marie. I think definitely, Marie, seeing your child, I think that's one of the hardest things in some ways is when we go to the mosque and during like regular Ramadan, we get to see the whole community, their parents, their families, their children. And there is, as a child, Dr. Misbah mentioned that too, as a child is such a festive time. And this whole festivity from me growing up in Pakistan came from new clothes that you wear for Eid. And then for us, you know, like Christmas time, there are presents, but for us growing up in Pakistan, the present was money, actually. So we all got money from the elders. And I think that was just such an exciting time. And then in some ways, the end of fast celebration, the Eid primarily centered around this happiness and joy that you felt as a child, kind of reliving those memories and then kind of cooking the foods again and again that you've had as children, reminding you of the Ramadan that you celebrated with your family and your friends or your parents or your siblings. So I think a lot of us who are like away from the family at this point can relate to that. And then I specifically miss seeing children in the mosque running around where, you know, like sometimes people get angry or upset that, oh, the children are making too much noise and we're trying to pray. But I think that that's the festivity of it. The beauty of it is all coming together.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else want to say anything?
Professor Muhyiddin, I have a question for you. Professor Muhyiddin.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you. I want your wisdom. So I was wondering, Professor Muhyiddin, what would you say regarding like how has this virus exposed the true nature of human beings? I mean, I'm talking about the human world as a whole, like how we think we're so strong and we have built these buildings and we have like a very sure sort of confirmed view of how the world is going to last and all these, how powerful and mighty, you know, we are. We have a house, we have, you know, this strong roof, and then there comes something invisible and it has, you know, it has shattered economies and it has made us question our strength, like how strong we really are. And it has exposed this another new like weak, vulnerable nature of human beings. What do you have to say about this? Like we are questioning our identity, like are we really as strong as we think we are? And we have built all these majestic buildings and this majestic world and whatnot, you know, technology and science and all that. Well, what do you think?
I think, you know, I think I mentioned the other night, I think this sense of vulnerability, it has never happened before in such a big scale. This is unprecedented, you know. I think, you know, we've seen world wars, you know, crises, conflicts, revolutions, 9/11, all terrorism and all that. But I think never before the entire humanity has been focused on one threat. And second, the commonality of almost hopelessness about it. Almost hopelessness. And the fact that that hopelessness is almost very democratic, that is, it cut across all cultures, all level of development, especially that's a very fascinating development, that those who are presumably ahead of everybody else, or the top 5, 6 countries, they actually did even worse than others. I think that collective vulnerability is of course, it's fearful, it's very disconcerting, but at the same time, maybe it's the best opportunity we ever had for the last generations to think about it together, So that's one point that I think it's in my mind, and to see. So when you look at the articles and conversations around the web, it is about the implication of this. And I think there are many discussions, but I think the vulnerability and the sense of that. And I think out of the vulnerability, it may come something which humanity needs more than ever before, which is being humble about life and not to be arrogant about it so much. Because one of the key products of modernity, and not only in the West, anywhere else that modernity has touched, it creates a sense of confidence in life and the domination over environment, control of the environment, control of life, predicting life, and so on. And that all of a sudden you forget that you are very vulnerable and you're not on the top of the world, and you could be destroyed very, very quickly. So the humbleness is a prerequisite for thinking about what we have done wrong. And hopefully there would be forums or frameworks that this conversation could become a global conversation. I'm not extremely optimistic, but because as I said on Friday nights, I don't know which Friday night it was, we are also have enormous capacity to be forgetful and not to remember.
I was talking with my landlord, and he said that nature was created before human beings. So when human beings were made after nature, it was the responsibility of human beings to look after nature, to look after the earth and all that, that was surrounding him or her, and that we somehow failed to do so. And so we are now accountable for all that is happening to us. And I was listening to him, and it just struck me, like, what did we do wrong? That we now need to think our perspectives and like change our thinking and perception and think about the earth in a different way. And all that has been given to the nature that has been gifted to us.
I don't know. If you want to have a philosophical answer to that, you may start to agree with the notion that there's a difference between modern person and pre-modern person. And the pre-modern person, in all cultures in their own way, were preoccupied with the questions of meaning, mystery, symbols, whatever they were, through religions, through semi-religious practices, and so on. Modern person is a person who actually kicked the questions of meaning and God upstairs. Just to be there as part of a mosaic of everything else. And therefore we are here alone in some ways, in control, in charge. And therefore this world is made for us. Therefore dominating this world has become the key preoccupation of modern person. And I'm not talking about physical, military, political stuff like that. I'm talking about control of the environment, and therefore that this whole thing could be exploited for us, for our benefit. And science, technology, reason, rationality are the equipments that allows human beings to actually think like that. So I think now we are facing a situation that there's a finality to this environment if we don't take care of it. That consciousness didn't exist before. When I traveled to Soviet Union in 1989, 1990, 89 actually, just before the collapse, I traveled to Central Asia, and I saw environmental disasters of unbelievable scale. There were certain villages that women would not breastfeed their children because the water was so contaminated. But the Soviets had no idea why this happened, even in '89. And actually, communist countries are actually notorious for ignoring the impact of modernization on the environment. And the same thing happens almost everywhere else, including the West, including China now, and of course, developing countries. Muslim countries are not excluded, actually, and so on. Especially, I think some traditional societies had extremely good practices before. They gave it up in preservation of the gardens, preservation of water, and respect for animals. Even the way they would kill the animals to eat was very different from now. It's very cruel, extremely cruel. So I think that's this environment. Maybe this is the time to think about this whole thing, and maybe come to some conclusion. So, but of course, it needs leadership. It needs leadership from the big countries. But I just don't see that. There is a collapse on the top of the political systems everywhere. I said this in my classes almost for the last 6-7 years, that the world is being run by small people now. Everywhere you look around, very seldom you see a big person in charge. And that's very scary. And the Western countries had much more confidence than others because they had instead of having individuals, they had institutions. And institutions were supposed to be the key bedrock. And now we see in the last 4 or 5 years that many institutions all over the Western countries are pretty shaky, actually. And the problem for that shakiness is not just about because there are bad people in charge. You also see, a significant number of the population goes along with that shakiness everywhere. I mean, look at India. Such a magnificent, huge, big, multicultural, plural country, so fast going to become a fascist state. Even among the, some Indian friends that I have here in the United States, they almost sometimes sound similar, although they live here. So I think that's a pretty, disconcerting combination to have small leaders with a populist background on the grassroots. I mean, who would have thought in 1991, 92, when everybody was talking about, new global orders and all that we talk about fascism in Western Europe, fascism in Eastern Europe, and in a country like India. So I think our task is pretty serious, actually, as a citizen, as Muslims, as Christians, as it's not a joke anymore, I think.
Dr. Misbahi, if I may ask you a question. I've been listening to your wise counsel all these days, and I was wondering, what do you think will be the future of American democracy, given this global pandemic, and what you see will happen? Because I feel that the institutions that we were so famous for are really just collapsing in many ways.
Well, I'm not a specialist in American institution. I'm just a citizen here, observing the evolution of life in the last 4 decades here. I think myself, like many others, are kind of shaken by the idea that the institutions of this country were much more vulnerable than we thought. There was a conclusion after Watergate that how powerful the institutions actually are, how they manage to control almost an imperial presidency, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, you know, always the golden reference point.
Correct.
Always fix things. I'm not sure about that anymore. Now, of course, one can also be optimistic because the verdict is still out. People can vote. But the society is also culturally very divided. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who works in the Miami airport. And I told him, are you working? He said, yeah, I have to work, you know, because the contractors told me that I have to work. And they refused to wear masks. And they told me that because he was trying to keep distance from the rest of the round table, that these are engineers, for example. And they may joke that, okay, you're a Muslim, therefore you're afraid of things and all that, you know. This is all fake news.
Mm-hmm.
This is the top of the project, an engineer telling him.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately and ironically, he himself was taken over by the virus a week after, got sick. Then they hid it for an entire week, didn't tell anybody. Then they announced it through an email, you know. And he told me that all the conversation was all about fake news. This is to undermine the president and so on and so forth, you know. So the unreality of that mentality is inaccessible to some of us, but I think it's there.
Exactly.
You know, so I think that's that combination with leaders who want to be elected and so on. I'm not attributing any sinister attitudes to it. I'm just saying this combination is combustible in some ways, you know. But on the other hand, there is a massive number of people from even the conservative camps that are very worried about the futures and so on and so forth. So it's a, you know, half full or half empty glass, I think, you know, so.
I was thinking more along the lines of voting rights and how this pandemic is going to change maybe the way we vote in this country, where states are divided. Some states are very much against voting by mail, where some states are really, you know, working hard to make this a reality. Because of what happened recently, where I think it was Michigan that the Democratic primary voters were forced to go in person, and 50 people were infected.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think this is not old. I mean, this is old actually. This is not new. Suppressing vote whenever it's not in your
right.
That's always been part of the American tradition, but it wasn't always the major factors in deciding, you know. But the fact that even this illness would not prevent that, that's the message. That you have to see the Supreme Court 5-4.
Right.
They across the board, everything is ideological.
Right.
So therefore, there is no place that the buck stops.
Exactly.
When you get to that point, be scared.
That's why I was asking.
You know, because, you know, you need to have some place that the buck stops.
Exactly.
If the Supreme Court of the United States is also politicized, I think it is. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, you know, but you know, I'm just an observer, not a specialist, but that's what I see. In all of the rulings are this. So I thought maybe they would give, this was a very interesting litmus test. So people are gonna die, and people died as a result of that. They got infected, some old people died because they had to be, and those people who came to vote, they knew they had to vote because otherwise they lose.
Exactly.
And they came up and voted. And it's going to happen again and again, I think, you know. And
so what is this going to mean for the presidential in November?
No, I think
that's worrisome.
I'm just thinking how we're going to teach at FIU. Into Provost yesterday. So it's an interesting time. So we have to see. Hopefully there will be a good elections, and we will have a good result.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you guys again so much for coming, and we really appreciate it. So I wanted to just end with a prayer. But before I do that, I just wanted to see if anyone else wanted to say anything, any last words before we conclude. All right.
Well, really, just say thank you for hosting this event. It was real cool to hear from everybody, all their perspectives on this whole situation and so forth.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming. And so I just want to end with a few prayers in Arabic and then in English. So I was trying to change this name. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Lord, give us good in this world and in the hereafter, and protect us from the punishment of the fire. We ask for your help. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your mercy in this difficult time. Help us to be better people, to be more compassionate to those around us, to the world. We ask for you to cure those who are suffering. We ask you to find peace in those places where there's war. We ask for your divine grace and your mercy as we do things that upset you or anger you. We ask you to help us to be the best versions of ourselves. We ask you to forgive our ancestors and to guide our progeny. And we ask for your divine compassion on the world as we emerge from this virus. Help us to create a world that is better, more just, more equitable, and kinder, so that we may live in harmony for many more years. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming, for everybody. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor and a pleasure to share this iftar with you guys. It was wonderful to have people from all over the country and all over the world to join us. Great to see you guys, some friends after many years. And hopefully we can continue to do many more of these to connect with each other and share our ideas and sort of become sort of a family across Zoom. So thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Iqbal, I sent you a message about TJ. I don't know if you.
I got it. Yeah, you can just add him. That's fine. That works.
But you have to do it yourself. I don't know how to add him.
Okay, all right, I'll add him.
You think it's not going to complicate your panel?
No, it's fine.
He's very good. He's
yeah, definitely. We'll add him. That's not a problem.
So, all right.
All right.
Good night.
Good to see you, Zafrin. Take care.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.